This is Thursday, October 11th homework, which was 4.3 practice. Question number 1 presented the scenario: if you saved $300 to spend over the summer, you decide to budget $50 to spend each week. Write an equation that represents this situation. So it says use x as your variable, so you could have written it as y equals the amount of money that you are spending each week, so it will be going down, minus 50x, plus the amount of money you started with, 300. So your rate of change would be a negative 50, and your y-intercept would be 100. You could have also written f of x instead of y. Question 2, same scenario. It says which graph accurately represents a scenario. So you would be looking for the graph that is in the positive upper right quadrant, and it would be starting at 300, and then it would need to be going down 50 each week. And so it would be from there to there. So some of them had it in some of the other quadrants, but you needed the one that started at a positive 300 and went down 50 each week until it got to when there was no more money left at 0. Question 3, what is the slope? Well, the slope is a negative 50. You say, what does the slope represent? It's the amount of money spent each week. Even if you said she spends $50, I spend $50 every week, that's similar, that's acceptable. The y-intercept was 300, so you could have had just 300, or you could have written the point 0, 300. And then the y-intercept is the original amount of money, initial amount of money. Any synonym is completely acceptable. The next scenario is a graph about the total monthly cost of hot yoga compared to the number of practices in a month. So if we look for some good points, I see I have the point 0, 25 and 1, 35. So if I have the two ordered pairs 0, 25 and 1, 35, and I do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, that's going to give me a difference of 35 minus 25 over 1 minus 0. And so that's going to come out to just be 10 over 1, which is just 10. And then that's 10, and the slope represents the cost per yoga practice, not necessarily per month, because this is number of yoga practices in a month. It is the cost, it's $10 for every yoga session, yoga practice. The y-intercept was 25, or the point 0.025, and that is like a sign-up fee, or I just say initial fee. That usually works, but if you said sign-up fee or original cost before taking any yoga sessions, that's completely acceptable. So write a function that represents the situation. X is the number of practices and y is the total monthly cost. So y equals the price per session was $10 per session, and then the original cost before taking any session was 25, so it should be 10x plus 25. So 25 was our y-intercept and 10 was our rate of change. Each individual point represents the total cost for that number of sessions. The last question was like the last two examples we did in the back of the workbook, where you were given two ordered pairs and asked to write the equation of the line in 3 different formats. And so the first information we needed to find out from those 2 points was the slope. So we did the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that is 18 minus 2 over negative 5 minus 3, which gives me 16 over negative 8, which comes out to be negative 2, so our slope's negative 2. And we're going to write it in point slope first. point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And so we're going to fill in the blanks for the x and y using either one of the ordered pairs, and then m from our slope. So the equation should be, if I use the first point, y minus 2 equals negative 2 times x minus 3. If you use the other point, it would have been y minus 18 equals negative 2 times x minus negative 5, which would be x plus 5. From there, you could have converted to slope-intercept form by simply distributing and then moving over the other term to get y alone, because slope-intercept form is just y equals mx plus b, and you need to have the y alone, essentially, is how you accomplish that. So if we distribute this negative 2 here, we've got y minus 2 equals negative 2x plus 6. And then when we move over the minus 2 by adding it to both sides, our final slope-intercept form is y equals negative 2x plus 8. Our slope of this line is negative 2. We already knew that, but now we know our y-intercept is 8. And then the last type that you were asked to convert it to is standard form. We saw that standard form's formula is ax plus by equals c. A and b are just the coefficients of the x and y term. C is just the constant. And we learned there were two rules, that a, the number in front of x, has to be positive. And then we also learned that we cannot have fractions, so there's no fractions in standard form. So luckily this time we don't have any fractions, so there's nothing to worry about. We just need to get x and y on the same side, have them in this order, set equal to our constant. So if I use slope-intercept form, the only thing I need to do is move my x term over to the same side with the y. Since it's negative, I would add it, and so we would have a positive 2x plus y equals 8, and that would be our answer for standard form.